You can't stay here." Those 4 words nearly shattered Lucinda Vale's last thread of hope. Standing at Sage Hollow Ranch with her 6-month-old son, crying against her chest, she faced the man whose grief had turned him into stone. Thatcher Reeve hadn't smiled in 3 years, not since the fire took everything. But when baby Callum's tiny hand reached toward him, something impossible happened. The dead man's heart remembered how to beat. If you believe broken people can find each other in the darkest places, subscribe now and comment your city below, so I can see how far this story travels. Stay until the end, because what happens next will break you open. Lucinda's hands trembled as she knocked on the ranch house door. 3 times. Each knock felt like begging, and God knew she'd done enough of that lately. The door opened slowly. The man standing there looked like he'd been carved from the same wood as his doorframe, hard-weathered, unmoving. Thatcher Reeve. She'd heard about him in town. The rancher who'd lost his wife and daughter. The man who hadn't spoken more than 10 words to anyone in 3 years. "Mr. Reeve." Her voice cracked. "I'm here about the job." His eyes gray as winter sky moved from her face to the bundle in her arms. Callum stirred, making those small sounds babies make when they're about to wake up cranky. "Job's taken," Thatcher said flatly. "Please." The word escaped before she could stop it. "I can cook. Clean. I don't need much. Just..." "Said it's taken." He started closing the door. "My husband died owing money to bad men." The words tumbled out desperate and raw. "They're looking for me, for us, I just need somewhere to..." The baby wailed. Callum's cry pierced the evening air, sharp and insistent. Lucinda bounced him frantically, but exhaustion and hunger had made him inconsolable. Thatcher's jaw tightened. Something flickered across his face. Pain maybe, or memory. "How old?" he asked. 6 months. He stared at Callum like the baby was a ghost. His hand gripped the doorframe so hard, his knuckles went white. "The job pays room and board. $30 a month. You cook 3 meals. Keep the house. Don't touch anything in the locked bedroom upstairs." His voice was flat, mechanical. "You leave when I say. No questions asked." Lucinda's throat closed with relief so sharp it hurt. "Thank you. Thank you, Don't thank me." He stepped back, opening the door wider. "Just don't make me regret this." She walked into the house and immediately understood what people meant when they said a place felt haunted. The interior was clean, but lifeless. No photographs, no color. The furniture sat exactly where it probably sat 3 years ago, untouched, unused. The kitchen looked functional, but joyless pots hung in perfect rows, a cold stove, a table set for one. "Bedrooms through there." Thatcher pointed down a dim hallway. "Stoveworks. Pumps out back. Chickens need feeding at dawn." "Yes, sir." "Don't call me sir." He turned away. "Name's Thatcher." Callum had quieted to small whimpers against her shoulder. She rocked him gently, taking in the strange silence of the place. "Mr. Reeve Thatcher, is there anything you don't eat? Any meals you prefer?" He paused at the base of the stairs. "Doesn't matter. Everyone has preferences." "Not me." His voice was hollow. "Not anymore." He climbed the stairs and disappeared. Lucinda stood alone in the kitchen holding her baby, wondering what kind of man lived like this. What kind of grief carved the life out of someone so completely? That night she made a simple stew from what she found in the pantry. Potatoes, carrots, some salted beef. She set his bowl on the table and waited. Thatcher came down exactly at 6. He sat. He ate. He didn't look at her once. "It's good," he said finally. "Thank you." "You eat already." "I'll eat after." He glanced at Callum, who was sleeping in a makeshift bed she'd made from blankets in the corner. "Baby needs to eat too." "He's fed." Thatcher nodded once and finished his meal in silence. He stood, carried his bowl to the basin, and walked back upstairs without another word. Lucinda exhaled slowly. She'd survived the first day. The next morning, she woke before dawn to Callum's hungry cries. She fed him quickly, changed him with practiced efficiency, and stepped outside into the cold. The ranch spread out before her in shades of gray and gold. Fence lines stretched toward distant hills. A barn sat quiet and dark. Chickens clucked somewhere nearby. She found the coop and scattered feed, watching the birds rush forward. Callum cooed against her back in the sling she'd fashioned from a shawl. "They like you." She jumped. Thatcher stood a few feet away, hat low, arms crossed. In the dawn light, he looked less like stone and more like someone trying very hard to be stone. "Didn't mean to startle you," he said. "It's fine. I'm not used to not being alone." She nodded. He studied her for a moment, then shifted his gaze to Callum. "How long you been on the road?" 3 weeks, maybe 4. That's a long time with a baby." "Didn't have a choice." Something in his expression softened, barely perceptible. "No, I suppose you didn't." He turned and walked toward the barn. She watched him go, wondering what he'd been like before the fire. If he'd smiled, if he'd laughed. Days passed in quiet rhythm. Lucinda cooked, she cleaned, she mended curtains and swept floors and slowly, carefully brought small traces of life back into the house. A jar of wildflowers on the table, bread baking in the morning, Callum's laughter when she tickled him. Thatcher noticed. She caught him staring at the flowers, once his expression unreadable. "Should I take them down?" she asked. "No." His voice was rough. "They're fine." He started staying downstairs longer. Not talking much, but present. He'd sit by the fire after dinner, whittling small pieces of wood while she rocked Callum to sleep. One evening, the baby wouldn't settle. He fussed and cried, overtired and fighting sleep. "He's teething," Lucinda said apologetically. "I'm sorry, I'll take him." "Give him here." She froze. "What?" Thatcher stood awkwardly, hands half extended, like he wasn't sure what they were supposed to do. "Let me try." She hesitated, then carefully passed Callum over. The baby squirmed, but Thatcher held him steady, one large hand supporting his back. He walked slowly across the room, bouncing slightly, whispering something too low to hear. Callum's cries faded to hiccups, then silence, then sleep. Lucinda stared in disbelief. Thatcher looked down at the baby in his arms, and for the first time since she'd arrived, she saw something break open in his face. Pain, longing, love that had nowhere to go. "You're good at that," she whispered. "I had practice once." His voice cracked. "A long time ago." He handed Callum back carefully, like returning something precious and fragile. "What was her name?" Lucinda asked gently. "Your daughter." Thatcher's jaw worked. He turned away. "Emma. Her name was Emma." "That's beautiful." She was beautiful. His shoulders sagged. She was everything. Silence stretched between them, heavy with ghosts. "I'm sorry," Lucinda said. "Don't be." He faced her again, eyes red-rimmed. "I'm the one who should be sorry. You came here running from something, and I've been nothing but... You gave us shelter. You gave us hope." She smiled sadly. "That's not nothing." He nodded once, then disappeared upstairs. But something had shifted. The next day, she found him in the barn fixing an old cradle. He worked with focus, sanding rough edges, tightening joints. "What are you making?" she asked from the doorway. He didn't look up. "Figured the baby needs a proper place to sleep." Her throat tightened. "Thatcher, you don't have to." "I know." He ran his hand along the wood. "I want to." She watched him work, this broken man putting pieces back together. That night he carried the finished cradle into her room and set it down gently. "It was Emma's," he said. "My wife made it. I couldn't look at it for 3 years, but..." He touched the edge. Maybe it's time someone used it again. Lucinda's eyes burned with tears. Are you sure? Yeah. He met her gaze. I'm sure. She placed Callum in the cradle. The baby cooed happily, tiny fists waving. Thatcher smiled. It was small, broken, but real. Thank you, Lucinda whispered. He left without answering, but she heard his footsteps pause outside her door, like he wanted to say something more, but couldn't find the words. Weeks passed. Spring crept toward summer. Lucinda planted a small garden behind the house. Thatcher repaired fence lines he'd ignored for years. They fell into an easy rhythm, not quite friendship, not yet something more, but companionship born of shared silence and mutual respect. One afternoon she found him on the porch, staring at the horizon. Storm's coming, he said. Dark clouds gathered in the west, rolling toward them like a bruise spreading across the sky. We should bring the chickens in, she said. Already done. Thunder rumbled low and distant. Callum slept peacefully inside, unaware. You ever been in a bad storm? Thatcher asked. Once, back in Missouri. Tornado touched down half a mile from our house. You scared? Terrified. She smiled slightly. But we survived. He nodded. That's all we can do sometimes. Just survive. The storm hit an hour later. Rain lashed the windows. Wind howled around the corners of the house. Lightning split the sky in jagged white lines. Lucinda held Callum close, singing softly to keep him calm. Thatcher built up the fire and brought extra blankets down from upstairs. We're safe here, he said. House is weathered worse. I believe you. They sat together by the fire as the storm raged outside. Callum dozed in her arms. The house creaked and groaned, but held steady. Can I ask you something? Thatcher's voice was quiet. About your husband. She tensed. What about him? The debts you mentioned. Were they the only reason you ran? She was silent for a long moment. The fire crackled. Rain drummed against the roof. No, she finally said. He was cruel. Not always. At first he was kind, but then... Her voice dropped. He drank. He gambled. He hit me. Thatcher's hands clenched into fists. When he died wagon accident, I felt relief. Then guilt for feeling relieved. Then the men he owed money to came looking and I took Callum and ran. How much? Thatcher asked. What? How much does he owe? $500. She laughed bitterly. Might as well be 5,000. I'll never have that kind of money. Thatcher stared into the fire, jaw tight. You don't owe them anything. Not for his mistakes. They don't see it that way. Then they're wrong. His certainty surprised her. You really believe that? I do. He looked at her directly. You're not responsible for his debts or his choices. You're just trying to protect your son. There's no shame in that. Something warm bloomed in her chest. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. Really seeing me. His expression softened. You're easy to see, Lucinda. You're the first real thing in this house since... He didn't finish, but he didn't need to. The storm passed. Dawn came soft and pink. Lucinda stepped outside to find the world washed clean. Puddles reflected the sky. Birds sang in the cottonwood tree. Thatcher was already working, checking for damage. She watched him move with new purpose, his movements less heavy, less haunted. Anything broken? She called. Nothing I can't fix, he called back. She smiled and went inside to start breakfast. But peace never lasts. That afternoon, as she hung laundry in the yard, dust rose on the horizon. A rider approached fast. Thatcher came out of the barn, hand instinctively moving to the rifle he kept by the door. The rider stopped at the gate. He was lean and mean-looking, with hard eyes and a cruel mouth. Help you? Thatcher's voice was cold. The man grinned, showing tobacco-stained teeth. Looking for a woman, widow, traveling with a baby. Heard she might be working here. Lucinda's blood went cold. She stepped behind Thatcher, instinctively clutching Callum close. "Who's asking?" Thatcher said. "Name's Wade Kenny. The woman's husband owed money to some associates of mine. We're here to collect." "Her husband's dead." "Debt don't die with him." Wade's eyes found Lucinda. "There she is. Pretty little thing. How much you paying her, Reeve? 'Cause we can settle this real quick if she just comes with me." "Get off my land." Wade laughed. "Now that ain't friendly." "I don't care." Thatcher moved forward, positioning himself fully between Wade and Lucinda. "You got no business here. The woman works for me. She's under my protection. You want to press the issue, we can, but I promise you won't like how it ends." Wade's smile faded. "You threatening me? I'm telling you how it is. Ride out. Now." "The debt isn't hers." Thatcher's voice was steel. "And if you or your associates come back here, I'll make sure you regret it." For a long moment, Wade just stared. Then he spat into the dirt. "This ain't over," he said. "Yeah," Thatcher replied. "It is." Wade yanked his horse's reins and rode off, leaving a trail of dust. Lucinda realized she was shaking. Thatcher turned to her, his expression fierce. "You're safe. You hear me? He's not taking you anywhere." "Thatcher." "I mean it, Lucinda. I don't care what your husband owed. I don't care what threats they make. You and Callum are staying here." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why are you doing this?" His expression broke open, raw and honest. "Because for 3 years I've been dead inside. I've been going through motions, waiting for time to pass, wishing I'd died in that fire with them." His voice cracked. "And then you showed up. You and this baby. And something in me woke up. Something I thought was gone forever." "Thatcher, I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not even asking you to stay forever. I just—" He looked away, jaw working. "I just can't stand the thought of anything happening to you. To him." Lucinda reached out and touched his face, turning him back to her. "You already saved us. The day you opened that door." He covered her hand with his own eyes closed. "Then let me keep you safe. Please." "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." That night, Thatcher didn't go upstairs. He sat by the fire with his rifle across his lap, keeping watch. Lucinda put Callum down in the cradle and returned to the main room. "You should sleep," she said. "Can't." "Thatcher, if they come back, I need to be ready." She sat beside him on the old couch. "Then I'll stay up with you." "You don't have to." "I know." She smiled slightly. "But I want to." They sat together in the firelight, neither speaking, both awake. Around midnight, Thatcher finally said, "I haven't told anyone what happened, the fire." "You don't have to tell me." "I want to." He stared into the flames. "It was winter, cold as hell. I was in town getting supplies. Sarah and Emma were home. I'd warned Sarah about the stove, it always ran hot, but she loved keeping the house warm." His voice went hollow. "I came back and saw smoke from a mile away. By the time I got there—" He stopped, breathing hard. "The whole house was burning. I could hear Emma screaming. I tried to get inside, but the heat, the smoke—" Lucinda took his hand. He gripped it like a lifeline. "They found them in Emma's bedroom. Sarah must have been trying to protect her. They were together, holding each other." "I'm so sorry," Lucinda whispered. "I built this house the next year. Same land, different spot. But I couldn't make it feel like home. It was just empty. Everything was empty. Until now." He looked at her eyes, glistening. Until now. She didn't know who moved first. Maybe both of them. But suddenly his arms were around her, and she was holding him while he shook with silent sobs. "I thought I'd never feel anything again," he said against her hair. "I thought I was broken forever." "You're not broken." She pulled back to meet his eyes. "You're healing. We both are. He touched her face gently, reverently. How did I get so lucky, you showing up here? Maybe we needed each other. Maybe we did. He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. The kiss was soft, tentative, full of question and promise. When they broke apart, both breathless, Thatcher rested his forehead against hers. Stay, he whispered. Not because you're scared. Not because you need shelter. Stay because you want to. I do want to, she said. But Thatcher, I'm terrified. What if Wade comes back? What if he brings others? What if... Then we'll face it together. His voice was firm. You're not alone anymore, Lucinda. Neither of us is. She kissed him again, deeper this time, and felt something long frozen in her chest begin to thaw. They fell asleep on the couch together, wrapped in blankets, keeping watch over each other, and the baby sleeping peacefully nearby. Morning came bright and clear. Lucinda woke to find Thatcher already up making coffee. He smiled when he saw her, a real smile, warm and alive. Morning, he said. Morning. Sleep okay? Better than I have in months. He poured her a cup, and they stood together at the window, watching the sun climb over the hills. What happens now? She asked. Now. He slipped his arm around her waist. Now we live. We work. We take care of each other. And if Wade comes back, then I keep my promise. His voice was steady. No one hurts you, not while I'm breathing. She leaned into him, feeling safe for the first time in years. Callum woke with a happy gurgle. Thatcher walked over and lifted him from the cradle, holding him easily, now naturally. Good morning, little man, he said softly. The baby grabbed his shirt and laughed. Lucinda's heart swelled watching them. This broken rancher and her fatherless son finding each other in the ruins of grief. What? Thatcher asked, catching her expression. Nothing. She smiled through tears. Just, thank you. For what? For giving us a home. He walked over and kissed her forehead, still holding Callum. You gave me one first. They stood together in the morning light, three people who'd lost everything learning how to build something new. Outside the ranch waited. Fence lines to mend, chickens to feed, a garden to tend, a life to live. But for now, in this quiet moment, they were simply together. And that was enough. The days that followed were the happiest Lucinda had known in years, maybe ever. She and Thatcher worked side by side, rebuilding more than just the ranch. They rebuilt trust, hope, the possibility of love. He taught her to ride. She taught him to laugh again. Callum grew stronger, healthier. His cheeks filled out, his eyes sparkled. And when he looked at Thatcher, there was recognition there, not of a father, but of someone who cared. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Thatcher said, I want to make this official. Make what official? Us. He turned to her. I want you to stay, not as someone who works here, as my wife. Her breath caught. Thatcher, I know it's fast. I know we're both carrying ghosts, but I also know I don't want to wake up without you, without him. He nodded toward Callum. You've given me my life back, Lucinda. Let me give you one too. A real one. Safe. Happy. She wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to. But fear held her back. What if Wade comes back? She whispered. What if he brings an army? What if... Then we'll fight. His voice was fierce. Together. But I'm not living in fear anymore. I'm not letting what might happen steal what we have right now. Tears streamed down her face. I'm scared. I know. He wiped her cheeks gently. But we're stronger scared together than we ever were brave alone. She kissed him hard, desperately, and whispered against his lips. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. He lifted her off the ground, spinning her once, and for the first time in 3 years. Thatcher Reeve laughed out loud. It was the sound of a man coming back to life. But peace, as always, was temporary. 2 days later, Wade Kenny came back. This time, he wasn't alone. Lucinda saw the dust first. 5 riders this time, moving fast across the plains. Wade Kenny at the front, his face twisted with purpose and rage. She grabbed Callum and ran inside. "Thatcher!" He was already moving rifle in hand, his face set in hard lines. "Get upstairs, back bedroom, lock the door." "I'm not leaving you." "Lucinda." He gripped her shoulders, eyes fierce. "Please. I need to know you're safe. I need to know he's safe. I can't do what needs doing if I'm worried about you." She wanted to argue, wanted to stand beside him, but Callum whimpered against her chest, and she knew Thatcher was right. "Don't you dare die on me," she whispered. He kissed her hard and fast. Not planning on it. She ran upstairs, her heart hammering. From the window she could see the riders pulling up outside the gate. Wade dismounted 4 men flanking him, rough-looking types with guns on their hips and cruelty in their eyes. Thatcher stepped onto the porch, rifle held loose but ready. "Told you to stay away," he called out. Wade grinned. "And I told you this wasn't over. See, I did some asking around. Found out you're real fond of playing hero. Well, hero time to pay up or hand over the woman." "Neither's happening. $500. That's all it takes to make us disappear. She doesn't owe you anything. Her dead husband does. Makes it her problem." Thatcher's jaw tightened. "You want money? Fine, I'll give you 200. That's more than fair for a debt you can't even prove existed." Wade laughed harsh and mean. 200? You think I rode all the way out here for $200? Nah, I want the full amount, or I want her. She can work it off real nice." Thatcher fired a shot into the ground at Wade's feet. The sharp crack echoed across the valley. Wade jumped back, hand going to his gun. His men tensed hands, hovering over their weapons. "Next one goes higher," Thatcher said, his voice deadly calm. "You talk about her like that again, I won't aim for the dirt." Upstairs, Lucinda held Callum tighter, her whole body shaking. Wade's face went red with fury. "You just made a big mistake, Reeve." "No, you did. Coming here, threatening what's mine." "What's yours?" Wade spat. "She's a whore with a bastard baby running from debts." Thatcher shot again this time, taking Wade's hat clean off his head. "I warned you," Thatcher said. Wade stumbled backward, eyes wide, then recovering into rage. "You're a dead man. You hear me? We'll burn this place down with you in it." "You can try." Thatcher's voice was steel. "But I've already lost everything once. I've got nothing left to fear. You're just scared men pretending to be tough. I've faced real loss, real pain. You don't scare me." One of Wade's men shifted uncomfortably. "Wade, maybe we should—" "Shut up!" Wade turned on his own man, then back to Thatcher. "This isn't finished." "Yes, it is." Thatcher raised the rifle again. "Ride out. Now. All of you. And if I see you on my land again, I won't be shooting hats." For a long, tense moment, nobody moved. Then one of Wade's men backed toward his horse, then another. Wade stared at Thatcher with pure hatred. "You think you won? You think this is over? I think you're still standing on my property. Fix that." Wade mounted his horse, jerking the reins hard. "We'll be back, and next time, we're bringing the law. The sheriff will see things different when he knows she's harboring stolen money." "There is no stolen money, just lies from a desperate man." Thatcher's aim never wavered. "But you go ahead. Bring the sheriff. Bring whoever you want. Won't change the outcome." Wade spurred his horse and galloped away, his men following. Dust rose in their wake like smoke. Thatcher stood on the porch until they disappeared over the ridge. Then his shoulders sagged, and he lowered the rifle, hands shaking. Lucinda burst out of the house and threw her arms around him. Oh God, I thought..." I'm okay. He held her tight, one hand cradling Callum between them. We're okay. He said he'd come back. He said, I know what he said. Thatcher pulled back to look at her. And he might. But Lucinda, I meant every word. I'm not letting anyone take you. Not him. Not anyone. She buried her face in his chest, trying to stop shaking. Come on, he said gently. Let's go inside. They sat together in the kitchen, while Thatcher cleaned his rifle with methodical movements, his face tight with thought. What are we going to do? Lucinda asked quietly. We're going to keep living, keep working, keep building our life. But if he comes back, I'll handle it. He met her eyes. Do you trust me? She nodded without hesitation. Yes. Then trust this. I won't let anything happen to you or Callum, whatever it takes. That night, neither of them slept well. Every sound outside made them both tense. Every creak of the house set them on edge. Around 3 a.m, Thatcher got up and stood at the window watching the darkness. Lucinda came up behind him and wrapped her arms around his waist. Talk to me. I keep thinking about what he said, about bringing the sheriff. Can he do that? He can try. Thatcher turned to face her. Problem is, even if there's no real debt, sometimes the law sides with whoever tells the better story. Wade could claim your husband owed legitimate money. Could claim you ran off with something that wasn't yours. Fear coiled in her stomach. What would happen to me, to Callum? Nothing. His voice was fierce. Because I won't let it get that far. How? He was quiet for a moment, then said, Marry me. Tomorrow. Make it legal and binding. You become my wife, you're under my protection. Wade's claims become a lot harder to press if you're married to someone willing to pay his supposed debt, which I'll offer to do officially if it comes to that. Thatcher, that's your money. I don't care about money. He cupped her face. I care about you, about him, about this life we're building. Money can be earned back. But you... His voice cracked. I can't lose you. Tears streamed down her face. You really want to do this, tie yourself to my problems. Your problems are my problems now. That's what love means. The word hung between them, spoken for the first time. You love me, she whispered. Yes. No hesitation. I love you, Lucinda. I love Callum. I love the life you've brought back into this house. And I'll be damned if I let some piece of garbage like Wade Kenny take that away. She kissed him desperately, pouring everything she felt into it. Gratitude, fear, hope, love. Tomorrow then, she said. Let's get married tomorrow. He smiled against her lips. Tomorrow. Morning came bright and clear, at odds with the tension still thrumming through the house. Thatcher rode into town at first light, leaving Lucinda with strict instructions to stay inside and keep his rifle close. I'll be back by noon, he promised. I'm going to talk to Reverend Walsh and Deputy Calder. Get everything arranged. Be careful. Always am. She watched him ride away, anxiety gnawing at her. The morning dragged. She tried to keep busy, cleaning, cooking, playing with Callum, but every minute felt like an hour. Around 10 o'clock she heard horses. Her heart stopped. She grabbed the rifle and moved to the window. But it wasn't Wade. It was a woman, older, sturdy, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense expression. She climbed down from a wagon and approached the house. Lucinda opened the door cautiously, rifle visible. The woman smiled. Easy there, dear. I'm Mabel Quinn, friend of Thatcher's. He sent word asking me to come sit with you till he gets back. He did. Said you might be nervous being alone. Figured another woman's company might help. Mabel's eyes were warm. And between you and me, I've been dying to meet the woman who got that stubborn man's heart beating again. Despite everything, Lucinda smiled. Come in. Mabel bustled inside like she owned the place, immediately cooing over Callum and setting a basket of fresh bread on the table. Lord, what a beautiful baby. Look at those eyes. Blue as summer sky. They were my husband's, Lucinda said quietly. Only good thing he gave us." Mabel's expression softened. "Heard about your troubles. Heard about Wade Kenny, too. Man's a snake. Always has been." "You know him." "Know of him. He runs with rough types, but he's also a coward. All bluster when he's got numbers on his side, but alone he's nothing." Mabel fixed her with a firm look. "Point is, you got Thatcher now. And anyone who knows Thatcher knows he doesn't make promises he can't keep. You've known him long. Since he first came to Sage Hollow. Watched him court. Sarah watched them marry, watched them have Emma." Mabel's voice grew soft. "Watched him nearly die from grief after the fire. Thought we'd lost him for good. But then a few weeks back I see him in town and he's different, lighter. And I think what in the world happened, and now I know." She smiled at Lucinda. "You happened." Lucinda's throat tightened. "I didn't do anything special." "You loved him. You let him love you back. That's everything, dear." They spent the morning talking, and slowly Lucinda relaxed. Mabel was easy company, warm, practical, full of stories about the town and the people in it. "So you're marrying him today?" Mabel asked. "If everything goes as planned." "Good. He needs you. And unless I'm reading things wrong, you need him too." "I do." Lucinda looked down at Callum, who was napping in her arms. "For the first time in my life I feel safe. Really safe." "Then hold on to that. Don't let Wade or anyone else steal it." Noon came and went, then 1 o'clock. Lucinda's anxiety returned with force. He said noon. "Men always run late," Mabel said, but even she was watching the window. Finally, at 1:30 they heard horses. Thatcher rode up with Deputy Calder, a young man with an honest face, and an older gentleman Lucinda assumed was the Reverend. She burst outside. "What took so long?" "Had to make some stops," Thatcher said, dismounting. "Make sure everything's legal and proper." He turned to the deputy. "This is Deputy Amos Calder. He's going to stand as witness." "Ma'am?" The deputy tipped his hat. "Mr. Reeve explained the situation. I want you to know Wade Kenny's got no legal standing here. No proof of debt, no claim on you or your son. If he shows up again causing trouble, you let me know." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you." "And this is Reverend Walsh," Thatcher continued. The Reverend was kind-faced with gentle eyes. "Miss Vale, Thatcher's told me about you. I'm honored to officiate." Lucinda looked down at her worn dress. "I'm not exactly prepared for a wedding." Mabel stepped forward with a smile. "Good thing I brought this then." She pulled a dress from her wagon, simple but beautiful, cream-colored, with delicate embroidery. "It was my daughter's," Mabel said. "She wore it at her wedding 3 years back. Said she'd be happy to loan it for a good cause." Lucinda's eyes filled. "I can't." "Yes, you can. Now go change. Your groom's waiting." 20 minutes later, Lucinda stood under the cottonwood tree in a borrowed dress, holding Callum with Thatcher beside her in his cleanest shirt. It wasn't grand. There were no flowers, no music, no crowd. But it was real. Reverend Walsh opened his Bible. "Dearly beloved, we gather here today in the sight of God to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony." Thatcher took her hand, his grip steady and sure. "Marriage is not to be entered into lightly, but reverently, deliberately, and in accordance with the purposes for which it was instituted by God." The Reverend looked between them. "Do you, Thatcher Reeve, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part?" "I do." Thatcher's voice was strong, certain. "And do you, Lucinda Vale, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part?" Lucinda looked into Thatcher's gray eyes and saw everything she'd ever hoped for. Safety, love, home. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Thatcher pulled her close and kissed her softly, reverently, like she was something precious he'd been given a second chance to hold. Callum cooed happily between them. When they broke apart, Mabel was crying. Deputy Calder was grinning, and the Reverend was smiling warmly. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Reeve," he said. Mrs. Reeve. The name settled over Lucinda like a blessing. They signed the marriage certificate with Deputy Calder and Mabel as witnesses, making it legal and binding. "There," Thatcher said, holding up the paper. "Now you're mine, officially, and anyone who tries to say different can answer to me." That evening, after the Reverend and Deputy had gone, and Mabel had returned home with promises to visit soon, Thatcher and Lucinda sat on the porch watching the sunset. Callum slept peacefully in Lucinda's arms. "How do you feel?" Thatcher asked. "Safe, happy, terrified it won't last." He put his arm around her. "It'll last. I promise." "You can't promise that. Watch me." He kissed her temple. "I didn't survive losing everything, just to lose everything again. Wade Kenny's not taking this from us. Nothing is." She leaned into him, letting his certainty anchor her. "Tell me about Sarah," she said softly. "And Emma. I want to know them." He was quiet for a long moment, then began to speak. Sarah was strong, stubborn as hell. Laughed at everything, even when things were hard. She could fix a fence better than most men, and made the best apple pie you ever tasted. His voice was warm with memory. Emma was... God, she was sunshine. 3 years old when she died. Loved horses, loved music, would dance around the house singing made-up songs. "She sounds wonderful." She was. He paused. "For a long time I thought remembering them meant staying stuck in grief. Like if I moved forward I was betraying them. And now I think they'd want me to live, really live, not just survive." He looked at her. "You showed me the difference." She kissed him gently. "Thank you for letting me in. Thank you for not giving up on me." They sat in comfortable silence as stars began to appear. "What do we do now?" Lucinda asked. "Now we build. We work. We raise Callum. We make this ranch into something good again. And if Wade comes back, then we face it together." His voice was firm. "You're not alone anymore, Lucinda. You're my wife. That means something. That means everything." She believed him. That night they lay in bed together, truly together for the first time. No fear. No shame. Just two people finding each other in the darkness. "I love you," she whispered against his chest. "I love you too." He kissed her hair. "Both of you." Callum slept peacefully in his cradle, and for the first time in years, neither Lucinda nor Thatcher had nightmares. Morning came gentle and gold. Lucinda woke to find Thatcher already up making coffee. She wrapped a blanket around herself and joined him, still amazed this was real. "Morning, wife," he said with a smile. "Morning, husband." He poured her a cup, and they stood together at the window, watching the ranch come alive with light. "I need to ride the fence lines today," he said. "Check for damage from the storm last week. I'll come with you." "What about Callum?" "We'll bring him. He loves being outside." Thatcher grinned. "All right then. Family outing." They saddled 2 horses, Thatcher's steady gelding and a gentle mare he'd kept in the barn. "You sure you're comfortable riding with him?" Thatcher asked, as Lucinda settled Callum in the sling against her chest. "We'll be fine. Won't we, sweet boy?" Callum gurgled happily. They rode out across the ranch, checking fence posts and gates. The work was simple, rhythmic, peaceful. "I could get used to this," Lucinda said. "What ranch work?" "No. Being with you, not running, not scared, just living." He reached over and squeezed her hand. "Get used to it. This is how it's going to be from now on." They stopped by a creek to water the horses and rest. Callum splashed his hands in the shallow water, delighted by the coolness. Thatcher sat beside Lucinda on the bank watching the baby play. "He's a good kid," Thatcher said. "He is. Deserves a good life. He'll have one. We'll make sure of it." Thatcher nodded slowly, then said, "I want to be his father, officially. When he's old enough to understand, I want him to know I chose him. Chose both of you." Lucinda's breath caught. "You mean—" "I mean adoption, legal papers, my name, everything." He looked at her intently. "If you'll let me." Tears streamed down her face. "Yes, God, yes. He'd be lucky to have you as his father." "I'm the lucky one." Thatcher kissed her, then reached down and scooped up Callum, lifting him high. The baby shrieked with laughter. "What do you say, little man, want to be a Reeve?" Callum grabbed Thatcher's nose and giggled. "I'll take that as a yes," Thatcher said. They rode back to the ranch in the golden afternoon light, a family in every way that mattered. But peace never lasts long when there's hate in the world. 3 days later, Wade Kenny came back. This time he brought the sheriff. Lucinda was hanging laundry when she saw them coming. 2 riders this time. Wade Kenny and a man wearing a sheriff's badge. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed the clothes basket and ran inside, her hands shaking so badly she could barely set it down. "Thatcher!" He came from the barn, saw her face and immediately understood. His jaw set hard as he looked toward the approaching riders. "Stay inside," he said. "No, I'm your wife now. We face this together." He started to argue, then nodded once. "All right, but let me do the talking." They stepped onto the porch together just as the 2 men reined in their horses. The sheriff was older, maybe 50, with a weathered face and tired eyes. He dismounted slowly like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. "Thatcher Reeve?" he asked. "That's right. I'm Sheriff Bowman from Red Creek. This man says you're harboring a fugitive." Wade smirked from his horse. "Told you he was protecting her." Thatcher's voice stayed calm. "My wife isn't a fugitive." The sheriff's eyebrows raised. "Your wife?" "That's right. Married 3 days ago. Legal and proper. Deputy Calder witnessed it. Reverend Walsh officiated. Papers are filed at the county office." Wade's face went red. "Married. You married her to get around the debt." "I married her because I love her," Thatcher said evenly. "The debt you claim exists has no proof, no contract, no promissory note. Just your word, which isn't worth much." Sheriff Bowman sighed. "Mr. Kenny claims the deceased owed $500 to his associates. Claims Mrs. Reeve, Mrs. Vale as she was, ran off with money that should have gone toward that debt." "That's a lie," Lucinda said, her voice stronger than she felt. "My husband gambled away everything we had. When he died, there was nothing. No money, no property, nothing but debts I couldn't pay." "See?" Wade pointed at her. "She admits he owed money. I said he owed debts, not to you, to the mercantile in Missouri, to the boarding house where we lived, to half the businesses in town." Lucinda lifted her chin. "And even if he did owe you, I wasn't responsible then, and I'm not responsible now. I didn't make his deals. I didn't shake his hands. His choices aren't my burden." The sheriff studied her for a long moment. "That's actually true, legally speaking. A wife isn't liable for her husband's debts unless she co-signed. Did you?" "No, sir." "And you have no assets from his estate." "He didn't have an estate, just a broken wagon and some clothes." Sheriff Bowman turned to Wade. "You got any proof of this debt? Any papers?" Wade's jaw worked. "It was a gentleman's agreement." "A gentleman's agreement." The sheriff's tone was dry. "So, no papers, no witnesses, no proof." "I got witnesses. The boys who rode with me, the boys who work for you." The sheriff shook his head. "That's not how the law works, Mr. Kenny. You need independent verification, a contract, something. She's lying. She's got the money hidden somewhere. Do I look like I have $500? Lucinda's voice rose. Look at my dress. Look at my shoes. I arrived here 3 weeks ago with a baby, a single bag, and nothing else. If I had money, don't you think I'd have used it? The sheriff looked at her worn clothing, then at Thatcher. She's got a point. This is bullshit, Wade exploded. You're taking their side because Reeve's local, and I'm not. I'm taking the side of the law, Sheriff Bowman said firmly, which says a person can't be held responsible for debts they didn't incur, and which also says you need proof of a debt before you can collect. You've got neither. He mounted his horse. My advice? Ride back to wherever you came from and forget this. There's nothing for you here. Wade's face twisted with rage. You're making a mistake. No, son. You made the mistake. Coming out here, harassing these folks, making accusations you can't back up. The sheriff's voice hardened. And if I hear you've been back here causing trouble, I'll arrest you for harassment and trespassing. We clear? For a moment, Wade looked like he might argue. Then he spat on the ground and yanked his reins. This isn't over, he snarled at Thatcher. Yes, it is, the sheriff said. Ride out, now. Wade galloped away, leaving a cloud of angry dust. Sheriff Bowman looked at Thatcher and Lucinda. I apologize for the trouble. Man like that gets an idea in his head, hard to shake it loose. Thank you, Sheriff, Thatcher said, for seeing the truth. Just doing my job. He tipped his hat to Lucinda. Ma'am, congratulations on your marriage. May it be long and happy. Thank you, she whispered. They watched him ride away, and only when he disappeared over the ridge did Lucinda's legs give out. Thatcher caught her before she fell, holding her tight. It's over. You hear me? It's over. He's so angry. What if he won't. The law's on our side now. Wade's got nothing. Thatcher pulled back to look at her. You're safe. We're safe. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But the look in Wade's eyes haunted her. That night, Thatcher insisted on celebrating their legal victory. He opened a bottle of wine he'd been saving and cooked dinner himself badly, which made Lucinda laugh despite everything. This is terrible, she said, chewing the overcooked beef. I know. He grinned. That's why I married a good cook. Is that the only reason? Well, that and you're pretty. She threw a piece of bread at him. He caught it and threw it back, and soon they were laughing like children, the tension of the day melting away. Callum watched from his cradle, clapping his hands and squealing with delight at the game. See? Thatcher said, scooping up the baby. Even he thinks I'm funny. He's 6 months old. He thinks everything's funny. Are you saying I'm not funny? I'm saying you're many things. Funny isn't in the top 10. Thatcher clutched his chest dramatically. Wounded. I'm wounded. Lucinda kissed him. But you're brave, and kind, and strong, and you saved us. That counts for more than funny. His expression softened. I'd do it again. 100 times. I know. They put Callum to bed together, then sat by the fire like they'd done so many nights before. But tonight felt different. Lighter, like a weight had finally lifted. What are you thinking about? Lucinda asked. The future. What we want to build here. Tell me. Thatcher stared into the flames. I want to expand the herd. Maybe hire a hand or two come spring. Build a proper barn. Fix up the house, add a room for Callum when he's older. He looked at her. Maybe add more rooms after that, if we're lucky. Her breath caught. More rooms. For more children, if you want that. If we're blessed that way. Tears pricked her eyes. I'd like that. Very much. Good. He pulled her close. Because I want a full house. I want noise and laughter and chaos. I want everything I lost but different. Better. New. We'll make it happen, she promised. Together. They sat in comfortable silence, both imagining the future stretching ahead of them. The next few weeks passed in peaceful routine. Thatcher worked the ranch. Lucinda kept the house and garden. Callum grew stronger, starting to pull himself up on furniture, babbling nonsense that almost sounded like words. Mabel Quinn visited often, bringing news from town and supplies Lucinda needed. She'd become a friend. Someone Lucinda could talk to about things she couldn't share with Thatcher. Women's things, fears she didn't want to burden him with. "You seem happy," Mabel said one afternoon while they shelled peas on the porch. "I am happy. Happier than I've ever been." "But," Lucinda sighed, "but I keep waiting for something to go wrong, like it's too good to last." "That's fear talking. Understandable given what you've been through. But Lucinda, you're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to have peace." "I know. Logically I know. But emotionally, you're still that scared woman running with a baby. I get it." Mabel patted her hand. "Give it time. The fear will fade. Eventually you'll wake up and realize you're not waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore." "How long did it take you?" "After your husband died." Mabel thought about it. "A year, maybe 2. But everyone's different. And you've got Thatcher. That helps. He's solid, steady, the kind of man who means what he says." "He is," Lucinda agreed softly. "Then trust him. Trust this. Stop waiting for it to fall apart and just live it." The words stayed with Lucinda. That night, lying in bed with Thatcher's arm around her and Callum sleeping peacefully nearby, she tried to let go. To just be present. To trust that this was real and lasting. It was harder than it should have been. 2 days later, Thatcher came in from the barn with news. "Saw Deputy Calder in town. He said Wade left the county, headed south. Apparently the sheriff made it clear he wasn't welcome." Relief flooded through her. "He's really gone. Really gone. Calder said if he shows up again, they'll arrest him on sight for harassment." Lucinda laughed, a sound of pure relief. "It's really over then. It's really over." Thatcher picked her up and spun her around. "No more looking over our shoulders. No more fear. Just us and our life." She kissed him hard. "I love you. I love you too, so much." That night, they celebrated properly, and for the first time since arriving at Sage Hollow, Lucinda slept deeply and dreamlessly. But peace, even hard-won peace, is fragile. A week later, Lucinda was in town, buying supplies, when she overheard 2 women talking. "Did you hear about the fire at the Morrison place?" "No, when?" "Last night, barn burned to the ground. They're saying it was arson." Lucinda's blood went cold. "Excuse me, did you say arson?" The women turned. One was Mrs. Peterson, who ran the general store. The other was a younger woman Lucinda didn't know. "That's right," Mrs. Peterson said. "Sheriff found evidence someone set it deliberately, poured kerosene around the base and lit it up." "Do they know who?" "Not yet, but there's been talk. Some drifter's been seen around, asking questions about various ranches." The younger woman leaned in. "They say he's looking for someone. A woman and a baby." Lucinda's heart stopped. "What did he look like?" "Tall, mean-looking, had a scar on his jaw. Wade Kenny." Lucinda barely remembered loading the wagon. She drove home faster than was safe, the horses straining against the pace. Thatcher was repairing the porch railing when she arrived. He took one look at her face and dropped his tools. "What happened?" She told him everything. His expression grew darker with every word. "He's burning barns." Thatcher's voice was dangerously quiet. "Looking for you." "That's what they said. Thatcher, what if he comes here? What if he won't get the chance." Thatcher strode into the house and emerged with his rifle and a gun belt. "I'm going to town. Going to talk to the sheriff." "I'm coming with you." "No. You stay here with Callum. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone but me." "Thatcher." "Please, Lucinda." His eyes were fierce. "I need to know you're safe. I can't think straight if I'm worried about you." She wanted to argue, but she saw the fear beneath his anger. He'd already lost one family. The thought of losing another was tearing him apart. "Okay," she said. "But you come back to me. You hear? You come back." He kissed her hard. "Always." She watched him ride away, then went inside and locked every door and window. She loaded the spare rifle and set it by the door, then held Callum close, praying Wade Kenny was long gone. Thatcher rode hard into town, his mind racing. Wade was still here, still hunting, still dangerous. He found Sheriff Bowman at his office, looking exhausted. "Reeve, figured you'd show up." "Is it him? Is it Wade Kenny?" The sheriff nodded grimly. "Pretty sure. Morrison said he'd turned away a man matching Kenny's description 2 days ago. Told him he didn't know anything about a woman and baby. Next night his barn's burning. He's sending a message. That's my thought too. He's saying, 'Tell me where she is or I'll burn you down.'" Thatcher's hands clenched into fists. "We need to find him, now. I've got men searching, but he's smart. Staying out of sight during the day, moving at night. Then I'll find him myself. Reeve don't do anything stupid. Stupid would be sitting around waiting for him to hurt more people. Or worse, waiting for him to show up at my ranch." Thatcher leaned forward. "That man threatened my wife, threatened my son. I won't stand by while he terrorizes this county." Sheriff Bowman studied him. "What are you planning?" "I'm planning to end this, one way or another." "Reeve." "I'm not looking to kill him, Sheriff, but I am looking to make sure he understands he's done here, that Lucinda is off limits, that this stops now." The sheriff sighed. "I can't officially condone vigilante justice." "Then officially, I'm just going to have a conversation with the man." "A conversation?" "That's right. With your rifle. I like to be prepared." The sheriff almost smiled. "Fine. But Reeve, be careful. Men like Kenny don't back down easy, and they fight dirty. So will I if I have to." Thatcher spent the rest of the day asking questions following leads. A rancher north of town had seen a man matching Wade's description near his property. A farmer reported his dog barking at shadows 2 nights running. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Wade was circling the area, staying mobile, hitting targets that wouldn't report him until it was too late. As sunset approached, Thatcher made a decision. He'd go back to the ranch, prepare, and wait. If Wade wanted Lucinda, he'd have to come through Thatcher first. He arrived home as dusk settled over the land. Lucinda ran out to meet him. "Thank God, I've been terrified." "I know. I'm sorry." He held her tight. "But we need to talk." Inside, with Callum asleep and the doors locked, he told her what he'd learned. Her face went pale. "He's burning people's property because of me." "Because he's a monster." "This isn't on you, Lucinda. But those people..." "We'll be fine. The sheriff's got men searching, but we need to be ready. If Wade comes here..." "When he comes here," she corrected. "He will. You know he will." Thatcher nodded slowly. "Yeah, I know. So what do we do?" "We prepare, we stay alert, and if he shows up, we end it." That night, neither of them slept. They took turns keeping watch, listening for any sound that didn't belong. Around 2 in the morning, the dogs started barking. Thatcher was on his feet, instantly rifle in hand. "Stay with Callum. Don't come out unless I call for you." "Be careful." He slipped outside into the darkness. The moon was half full, giving just enough light to see shadows moving. Someone was in the barn. Thatcher moved quietly, keeping low, using the darkness as cover. He could smell kerosene. His blood ran cold. Wade was going to burn them out. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Thatcher called out. A figure emerged from the barn. Wade Kenny holding a torch. "Well, well, the hero shows up." Wade's voice was mocking. "Come to save the day." Come to tell you this ends now. Put down the torch. Leave. Don't come back. Or what? Or I shoot you and claim self-defense. You're trespassing. You're attempting arson. The law's on my side." Wade laughed. "You think I care about the law? I've lost $500 because of your bitch wife. Lost my reputation, lost respect, all because you decided to play white knight. She never owed you anything. You know it. I know it. The sheriff knows it. This is about pride, about ego, about a small man trying to feel big." Wade's face contorted with rage. "Small man, I'll show you small." He threw the torch toward the barn. Thatcher fired. The shot hit Wade's shoulder, spinning him around. The torch fell short of the kerosene-soaked wood, landing in dirt and extinguishing. Wade clutched his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. "You shot me. I warned you." Thatcher chambered another round. "Next one goes center mass. Your choice." "You're crazy?" "No, I'm done. Done with your threats. Done with your games. Done watching you hurt innocent people because you can't admit when you've lost." Wade backed away, still holding his shoulder. "The sheriff will hear about this." "Good. Let him hear. Let him hear how you tried to burn down my barn with my family inside. Let him hear how you've been terrorizing the county. See how far that gets you." Wade stumbled to his horse, mounted awkwardly, and rode off into the darkness, leaving a trail of curses and blood. Thatcher stood there for a long moment, adrenaline coursing through him, before finally lowering the rifle. Lucinda appeared at the door, Callum in her arms. "Is he gone?" "He's gone." "Did you?" "Shot him in the shoulder. He'll live. But he won't be back." She ran to him, and they held each other, while Callum dozed between them, oblivious to how close they'd come to disaster. "It's over," Thatcher whispered. "This time it's really over." "How can you be sure?" "Because a man like Wade, he's only brave when he thinks he has the upper hand. I just showed him he doesn't. He won't risk dying over $500 that never existed in the first place." Morning came, and with it, Sheriff Bowman. Wade had ridden straight to the doctor, who'd patched him up and immediately reported the gunshot wound. The sheriff had come to hear Thatcher's side. Thatcher told him everything: the kerosene, the torch, the threat. Sheriff Bowman inspected the barn, found the evidence, and nodded. "Self-defense, clear as day. I'll be arresting Mr. Kenny for attempted arson and assault. He'll be in jail for a good long while." Relief washed over Lucinda. "Thank you, Sheriff." "Thank your husband. Man's got steady aim and steady nerves." He tipped his hat. "You folks take care now. And congratulations on finally getting some peace." After he left, Thatcher and Lucinda stood together in the morning light, watching their ranch come alive with possibility again. "Is it really over?" she asked. "It's really over." She turned in his arms and kissed him deeply. "Then let's start living." And live they did. The weeks following Wade's arrest brought a peace so profound it almost felt unreal. Lucinda would wake in the morning half expecting to find it all a dream, but then she'd feel Thatcher's arm around her waist and hear Callum babbling in his cradle, and know this was real. This was her life now. The ranch thrived under their combined effort. Thatcher's shoulders seemed broader somehow, his step lighter. He smiled more, laughed more. The ghost of the man who'd opened the door to her that first day had been replaced by someone alive and present. One morning, about a month after Wade's arrest, Lucinda was kneading bread when she heard horses approaching. Her heart still jumped at unexpected sounds, probably always would, but when she looked out the window, she saw Mabel Quinn's familiar wagon. "Lucinda!" Mabel called, climbing down with more energy than a woman her age should possess. "I've brought news." Thatcher emerged from the barn, wiping his hands on his pants. "Morning, Mabel. What's got you so excited?" "The town's having a harvest festival next week. Dancing, food games for the children. Everyone's invited." She beamed at them. "And everyone wants to meet the famous Mrs. Reeve properly. You know, the woman who tamed Thatcher Reeve's heart." Lucinda blushed. "I didn't tame anything." "Oh, honey, yes you did," Mabel laughed. This man was a hermit, A ghost. Now look at him fixing up the place, smiling at folks in town, actually having conversations that last more than 3 words. That's your doing. Thatcher wrapped an arm around Lucinda's shoulders. She's right. You changed everything. We changed each other, Lucinda corrected softly. Mabel's eyes grew misty. Well, whatever magic you two worked, the town wants to celebrate it. So you'll come, both of you bring the baby. Lucinda looked at Thatcher uncertainly. She hadn't been around large groups of people since fleeing Missouri. The thought made her anxious. We'll think about it, Thatcher said diplomatically. After Mabel left, Lucinda busied herself with the bread, punching down the dough harder than necessary. What's wrong? Thatcher asked. Nothing. Lucinda, she sighed. I don't know if I'm ready to be around all those people, answering questions, being looked at. He came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. Nobody's going to judge you. These are good people. They just want to welcome you. What if they ask about my past, about my husband? Then you tell them as much or as little as you want. But baby, you can't hide here forever. This is your town now. These are your neighbors. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. I know, but I'll be right beside you the whole time. And if it gets to be too much, we leave. Simple as that. She turned in his arms. Promise? Promise. He kissed her forehead. Besides, I kind of want to show you off. Let everyone see how lucky I am. She smiled despite her nervousness. You're ridiculous. You love it. I do, she admitted. The week leading up to the festival passed quickly. Lucinda made 2 pies, apple and cherry, and sewed a new shirt for Thatcher from fabric Mabel had brought. She also made herself a simple dress, her first new clothing in over a year. The morning of the festival, she stood in front of their small mirror, smoothing down her hair. You look beautiful, Thatcher said from the doorway. I look nervous. That too, he smiled. But mostly beautiful. Callum, now 8 months old, and sitting up on his own, clapped his hands and babbled something that sounded almost like Mama. Lucinda scooped him up, her heart full. Did you hear that? He almost said Mama. He did. Thatcher tickled the baby's belly. Smart boy, knows who takes care of him. They loaded the wagon with the pies and a blanket and headed into town. As they got closer, Lucinda could hear music, fiddles and guitars playing lively tunes. It's not too late to turn back, she said, only half joking. Thatcher took her hand. Yes, it is. We're doing this, together. The town square was transformed. Lanterns hung from trees, tables groaned under the weight of food, and people danced in the center, while children ran wild with laughter. Deputy Calder spotted them first. Mr. Reeve, Mrs. Reeve, you made it. Soon they were surrounded by friendly faces, all eager to welcome Lucinda properly. Mrs. Peterson from the general store complimented her pies. The Reverend's wife asked about Callum's teething. A rancher named Tom Willis offered Thatcher advice about breeding cattle. It was overwhelming, but not in the way Lucinda had feared. These people were genuinely kind, genuinely interested, and not one of them asked prying questions about her past. See, Thatcher whispered in her ear. Nothing to be scared of. You were right, she admitted. Say that again, I didn't quite hear you. She elbowed him playfully. Don't push your luck. The music shifted to a slower tune, and couples moved onto the dance floor. Thatcher held out his hand. Dance with me. I'm holding Callum. Mabel, Thatcher called. The older woman appeared instantly, as if she'd been waiting. Would you mind watching him for a dance? Mind, I'd be delighted. Mabel took Callum, who went to her happily. You two go. Enjoy yourselves. Thatcher led Lucinda onto the makeshift dance floor and pulled her close. They swayed to the music, moving together easily, despite never having danced together before. This is nice, Lucinda said, resting her head on his chest. It is. Thank you for pushing me to come. Thank you for letting me. They danced through 2 more songs before Callum started fussing. Lucinda retrieved him and found a quiet spot under a tree to nurse him, while Thatcher brought her a plate of food. "Having fun?" he asked, sitting beside her. "More than I expected. These people are lovely." "They are, and they're your people now, our people." The word settled over her warm and comfortable. Our people, our town, our home. As evening fell and lanterns glowed brighter, Reverend Walsh stood and called for attention. "Before we wrap up tonight's festivities, I'd like to say a few words." He smiled at the gathered crowd. "This community has weathered some hard times lately. Fires, threats, fear. But we've also witnessed something beautiful, the power of love to heal old wounds and create new hope." His eyes found Thatcher and Lucinda. "Some of you know Thatcher Reeve lost his family 3 years ago. What you might not know is how completely that loss broke him. I visited him regularly in those first years, and I wasn't sure he'd survive his grief. But then something miraculous happened. Love found him again, in the form of a brave young widow who needed refuge, and in her son who needed a father." Lucinda felt tears prick her eyes. Thatcher squeezed her hand. "Their story reminds us that it's never too late for second chances, that God's mercy is real and present, that real love doesn't erase the past, it redeems it." The Reverend raised his glass. "To the Reeves. May their union be blessed with many happy years." "To the Reeves," the crowd echoed. Lucinda buried her face in Thatcher's shoulder, overwhelmed by the acceptance and warmth. "I told you," he whispered. "You belong here." On the ride home with Callum sleeping peacefully and stars bright overhead, Lucinda felt something shift inside her. The fear she'd carried for so long of being found, of being judged, of being unwanted, began to dissolve. "I think I'm finally home," she said quietly. Thatcher looked at her, his expression tender in the moonlight. "Yeah, me too." The days grew shorter as autumn deepened. Thatcher and Lucinda fell into comfortable rhythms, working together, laughing together, building their life one day at a time. Callum took his first steps on a crisp October morning. Lucinda had been hanging laundry when she heard Thatcher shout, "Lucinda! Come quick!" She ran heart-pounding, expecting disaster. Instead, she found Thatcher kneeling on the ground, arms outstretched, while Callum stood on wobbly legs a few feet away. "Watch," Thatcher breathed. "Come here, buddy," Thatcher encouraged. "Come to Papa." The word Papa made Lucinda's throat tighten with emotion. Thatcher had started using it a few weeks ago, tentatively at first, then with more confidence when Callum responded with obvious joy. Callum took one shaky step, then another, then tumbled forward into Thatcher's waiting arms. "You did it!" Thatcher laughed, lifting the baby high. "You walked." Lucinda rushed over, tears streaming. "I can't believe I almost missed it." "He's been practicing. I've been helping him when you're busy." Thatcher grinned proudly. "Wanted to surprise you." "Well, I'm surprised." She kissed Callum's chubby cheek. "And so proud." They spent the rest of the morning encouraging Callum to walk again and again, celebrating each wobbly step like it was the greatest achievement in history. That night, after putting an exhausted Callum to bed, Lucinda sat with Thatcher on the porch. "He called you Papa," she said softly. "I know. How does that feel?" Thatcher was quiet for a moment. "It feels like I've been given something I didn't think I deserved. Like maybe I can be what he needs, what you both need." "You already are." She took his hand. "Thatcher, you're the best father Callum could ask for. You're patient and kind and loving. He's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one." His voice grew thick. "After Emma died, I thought that part of my life was over, that I'd never be a father again. But then you showed up with this perfect little boy, and suddenly I had a second chance." "We all got second chances," Lucinda said. "That's the beauty of it." The next morning, Deputy Calder rode out to the ranch with news. Wade Kenny had been sentenced to 2 years in prison for attempted arson and assault. He tried to claim self-defense, Calder said. Said you attacked him first. But the evidence didn't support it. The jury took less than an hour to convict. Relief flooded through Lucinda so powerfully she had to sit down. It's really over. It's really over, Calder confirmed. And ma'am, I wanted to say I'm sorry. Sorry you had to go through all that. Sorry men like Wade exist in the world. Thank you, Deputy, for everything you did to help us. After he left, Thatcher found Lucinda in the garden, crying quietly. Hey. He knelt beside her. Why the tears? I don't know. Relief, I think. Or maybe just releasing everything I've been holding in. She looked at him. For so long I was just surviving, running, scared. And now suddenly I'm not. I'm safe. I'm loved. I have a home and a husband and a future. It's almost too much to take in. He pulled her close. Take your time. There's no rush. We have the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives? She repeated, testing out the words. They felt solid, real, true. Winter came early that year, bringing snow that blanketed the ranch in pristine white. Lucinda had never particularly liked winter before. It meant cold and hardship and worry about fuel and food. But this winter was different. This winter meant cozy nights by the fire with Thatcher reading aloud while she sewed. It meant Callum's delighted laughter when he saw snow for the first time. It meant waking up warm and safe with no fear of what the day might bring. Christmas arrived, and Mabel Quinn organized a celebration at the church. Lucinda baked cookies, and Thatcher carved a small wooden horse for Callum. He's too young for it, Thatcher admitted. But I wanted to make him something. It's perfect, Lucinda said, running her fingers over the smooth wood. He'll treasure it when he's older. On Christmas morning, they exchanged simple gifts. Thatcher gave Lucinda a beautiful shawl he'd bought in town. She gave him a warm coat she'd sewn from wool Mabel had helped her find. But the real gift was Callum's reaction to the Christmas tree Thatcher had cut and decorated. The baby stared at the candles and ribbons with such wonder that both adults found themselves crying. I never thought I'd have this again. Thatcher set his arm around Lucinda. A family, Christmas, joy. Neither did I, she admitted. When I knocked on your door that first day, I was just looking for survival. I never imagined finding this. I'm glad you knocked. I'm glad you opened the door. They stood together watching their son discover the magic of Christmas, and in that moment, everything felt absolutely right. January brought harsh winds and bitter cold. One morning, Lucinda woke feeling nauseated. She barely made it outside before being sick. Thatcher found her pale and shaking. You all right? I think so. Maybe something I ate. But when it happened again the next day, and the day after that, Lucinda began to suspect it wasn't food. She waited another week to be sure before telling Thatcher. They were in the barn, him mending tack, while she kept him company. I think I'm pregnant, she said quietly. His hand stilled. You think or you know? I know. All the signs are there. Morning sickness. Fatigue. I'm late. He set down the leather he'd been working on and turned to face her fully. How do you feel about it? Scared? Happy? Overwhelmed? She laughed shakily. All of it at once. You? The same. He crossed to her and took her hands. But mostly happy. So damn happy. You want another child? I want everything with you. Children. Grandchildren someday. A lifetime of building this life together. He kissed her gently. Yes, I want this baby. Very much. She melted into him, relief washing through her. Good. Because I want it too. They told Mabel first, who cried and hugged them both and immediately started planning. You'll need baby clothes. And another cradle. Oh, and I'll help with the birth, of course. Been a midwife for 30 years. Delivered half the babies in this county. We'd be honored, Lucinda said. Word spread through town quickly. Everyone was delighted the hermit rancher and his brave young wife were growing their family. It felt like the whole community was celebrating with them. But pregnancy wasn't easy for Lucinda. The morning sickness lasted well into her second trimester. She was exhausted constantly, and as her belly grew, old fears crept back. "What if something goes wrong?" she asked Thatcher one night. "What if I can't do this?" "You can. You're the strongest person I know." "I don't feel strong." Strength isn't about feeling fearless. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. He placed his hand on her growing belly. "You fled an abusive husband. You protected your son. You traveled across the country with nothing but hope. You survived Wade Kenny. You can survive anything." "We survived Wade Kenny," she corrected. "Together." "Together," he agreed. "That's how we'll face this too." As spring arrived, Lucinda's belly swelled with new life. Callum, now a year old and toddling everywhere, seemed fascinated by his mother's changing body. "Baby," Lucinda would tell him, placing his hand on her stomach. "You're going to be a big brother." Callum would pat her belly gently, then wander off to explore something more interesting, making them both laugh. One April evening, as Lucinda and Thatcher sat on the porch watching the sunset, she felt the baby kick for the first time. "Oh!" She grabbed Thatcher's hand and pressed it to her stomach. "Feel that?" He went still, concentrating. Then his face lit up with wonder. "I felt it." The baby kicked. "Our baby," she said softly. "Our baby." He repeated, his voice thick with emotion. They sat like that, as darkness fell, his hand on her belly, feeling their child move and grow, and neither of them had ever felt more blessed. But beneath the joy, Lucinda carried a secret worry she hadn't voiced. She was terrified of childbirth. Her first labor with Callum had been long and difficult, with only a distracted midwife in a dirty boarding house for help. What if this time was worse? What if something went wrong? Finally, one night when the fear became too much to bear alone, she told Thatcher. "I'm scared of dying in childbirth," she whispered in the darkness. "Scared of leaving you, leaving Callum. Scared our baby will grow up without a mother." Thatcher pulled her close. "I won't let that happen." "You can't promise that." "No, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. Mabel's delivered hundreds of babies. She knows what she's doing. And if anything seems wrong, we'll get the doctor from Red Creek. Whatever it takes." "What if it's not enough?" He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Then we trust God. We trust that we're meant to be together, that our family is meant to be whole. Faith isn't believing nothing bad will happen, it's believing we'll survive whatever comes." His words didn't erase her fear, but they helped her carry it. As summer approached and her due date drew near, Mabel started visiting more frequently, checking on Lucinda and making sure everything was progressing normally. "You're doing fine," Mabel assured her after one examination. "Baby's positioned right. Your body knows what to do. Trust it." "I'm trying." "I know, honey. But fear makes labor harder. So between now and when your time comes, I want you to practice letting go. Practice trusting. Practice believing everything will be all right." It was easier said than done, but Lucinda tried. She and Thatcher talked about names. For a boy, they liked Samuel. For a girl, Grace. "Grace for what you've shown me," Thatcher said. "The grace of second chances, the grace of love, the grace of healing." Lucinda cried, hormones making her emotional about everything lately. Grace is perfect. The day labor started, it was the middle of July and hot as blazes. Lucinda had been feeling uncomfortable all morning, but dismissed it as the heat. Then her water broke. "Thatcher," she called, trying not to panic. He came running. "Is it time?" "It's time." He rode for Mabel while Lucinda tried to stay calm. The contractions started slow and manageable, but within an hour they were coming faster and harder. Mabel arrived and immediately took charge. "All right, Mama, let's get you comfortable. Thatcher, boil water, lots of it." The next several hours blurred together pain and pressure, and Mabel's calm voice guiding her through. Thatcher held her hand through every contraction, his presence anchoring her. "You're doing so good," he kept saying. "So good, baby. Almost there." "It hurts," she sobbed. "I know, but you're strong. You're so strong." Finally, as the sun was setting, Mabel said the words she'd been desperate to hear. "One more push, Lucinda. Give me one more good push." She bore down with everything she had, and suddenly the pressure released and a baby's cry filled the room. "It's a girl," Mabel announced, quickly cleaning the infant. "A beautiful, healthy girl." Thatcher was crying openly as Mabel placed the baby in Lucinda's arms. "Grace," Lucinda whispered, staring at her daughter's tiny, perfect face. "Hello, Grace." The baby had dark hair like Lucinda and gray eyes like Thatcher. She was absolutely perfect. Thatcher leaned over and kissed first his wife, then his daughter. "You did it. God, you did it." "We did it," Lucinda corrected, exhausted but elated. "We all did it." Mabel finished cleaning up and checking that everything was as it should be. "You rest now. I'll stay tonight in case you need anything." "Thank you, Mabel, for everything." "Oh, honey, it's my joy." Mabel smiled at them. "Now you have your family, your beautiful, perfect family." After Mabel left them alone, Thatcher sat on the bed beside Lucinda, both of them staring at their daughter in wonder. "She's so small," he whispered. "She'll grow. Just like Callum did." "Speaking of Callum, where is he?" "Sleeping at Mabel's. She'll bring him tomorrow to meet his sister." Lucinda smiled tiredly. "He's going to love her." "Of course he will. How could he not?" Grace made a small sound, her tiny hand grasping at air. Thatcher offered his finger, and she wrapped her whole hand around it. "Strong grip," he said, his voice breaking. "She's a fighter." "Like her mother," Lucinda said. "Like both her parents." They sat like that for a long time, the three of them together, and the miracle of it wasn't lost on either of them. A year ago, Thatcher had been a broken man living in a silent house waiting to die. Lucinda had been a desperate widow running from threats with nothing but her baby and hope. And now look at them. A family, whole, healed, happy. "Thank you," Thatcher whispered. "For what?" "For knocking on my door, for not giving up, for loving me back to life." Lucinda kissed him softly. "Thank you for opening it." Morning came soft and golden, filtering through the curtains where Lucinda lay with Grace sleeping on her chest. Every muscle in her body ached, but she'd never felt more content. The door creaked open and Callum burst in, Mabel following with an apologetic smile. "Mama!" Callum ran to the bed, then stopped short, staring at the tiny bundle. "Baby." "Yes, sweetheart. This is your sister Grace." Lucinda shifted carefully so he could see better. "Come meet her." Callum climbed onto the bed with Thatcher's help, his eyes wide with wonder. He reached out one chubby finger and gently touched Grace's hand. The baby's fingers curled reflexively around his. "She likes me." Callum's face lit up with pure joy. "Of course she does." Thatcher said, his voice thick. "You're her big brother." "I protect her," Callum announced with the seriousness only a toddler could muster. "Like Papa protects us." Lucinda's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, baby, you'll protect her." Mabel dabbed at her own eyes. "Well, I'll leave you all to get acquainted. I'll be back this evening to check on everyone." The next few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights and endless feedings. Grace was a hungry baby, demanding and loud when her needs weren't met immediately. Callum adjusted with surprising ease, bringing his mother water when she nursed and patting Grace's head gently whenever he passed the cradle. Thatcher was tireless. He took over all the cooking and cleaning, managed the ranch work, and still found time to sit with Lucinda in the quiet hours just watching their children. "You're amazing, you know that," Lucinda told him one night as he rocked Grace so she could rest. "I'm just doing what needs doing." No, you're doing more than that. You're being the kind of father every child deserves. He looked at her, his gray eyes soft in the lamplight. I learned from the best. Sarah was an incredible mother. And now you are too. I'm terrified most of the time. That's how you know you're doing it right. He smiled. Only bad parents think they have all the answers. Grace fussed, and he stood walking her around the room with practiced ease. Your mama's tired, little one. Let's give her some peace. Watching him with their daughter Lucinda felt her heart swell so large it almost hurt. This man who'd been so broken had become the foundation their entire family rested on. By the time Grace was 2 months old, they'd settled into a rhythm. Callum had started talking in full sentences, constantly asking questions about everything. Grace had started smiling, her whole face lighting up whenever Thatcher appeared in her line of sight. She's a daddy's girl already, Mabel observed during one of her visits. Can't blame her, Lucinda said with a grin. Look at him. Thatcher was on the floor with both children building a tower of wooden blocks for Callum, while Grace lay on a blanket nearby, watching everything with intense curiosity. Tower, Callum shouted, knocking it down. Again, Papa. Again. Thatcher groaned dramatically. You're wearing me out, buddy. Again. All right. One more time. Lucinda and Mabel watched them, both women smiling. You know, Mabel said quietly, I never thought I'd see him like this again. Happy, whole. After Sarah and Emma died, I thought that part of him died too. It almost did, Lucinda agreed. But grief isn't the end. Sometimes it's just the middle of a longer story. That's wise words for someone so young. I learned them the hard way. Fall arrived with crisp air and leaves turning gold. Thatcher hired 2 ranch hands to help with the expanded herd, young men from town who were respectful and hardworking. The ranch was thriving. Their family was thriving. Everything felt almost too perfect. Then, one October afternoon, a stranger rode up to the house. Lucinda was hanging laundry while the children napped when she saw him approaching. Her heart jumped. That old fear never completely left, but something about the man's posture seemed non-threatening. Thatcher came out of the barn, hand instinctively going to the rifle he now kept close. Help you, he called. The man dismounted slowly. He was older, maybe 60, with kind eyes and work-worn hands. I'm looking for Lucinda Vale. Was told she might be here. Who's asking? Thatcher's voice was careful. My name's Henry Ashford. I was married to Lucinda's mother's sister. I'm her uncle. Lucinda's breath caught. Uncle Henry. The man turned and his face broke into a smile. Lucinda, Lord child, you've grown. Last time I saw you, you were barely 10 years old. She approached cautiously, memories stirring. Her mother's sister had married and moved west before Lucinda was born. She'd only met Uncle Henry a few times during brief visits. What are you doing here? She asked. Looking for you. After your husband died, I heard through some mutual acquaintances that you'd run, that men were after you. I've been searching for months to make sure you were all right. His eyes took in the ranch Thatcher, the obvious signs of her new life. Seems like you landed on your feet. I did, she said carefully. Uncle Henry, this is my husband, Thatcher Reeve. The 2 men shook hands, sizing each other up. Your husband, Henry repeated. So you remarried? I did. Good, that's good. He smiled. Your mother would be glad to know you're safe and cared for. The mention of her mother made Lucinda's throat tight. She died when I was 16. I know. I came for the funeral, but missed it by a week. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. An awkward silence fell. Thatcher broke it. Would you like to come in, have some coffee? I'd appreciate that. Inside, Lucinda poured coffee with shaking hands. Grace woke and started fussing. Thatcher picked her up, bouncing her gently. That your baby? Henry asked. Our daughter Grace. We also have a son, Callum. He's napping. Henry's eyes grew misty. Your mother would have loved being a grandmother. They talked for over an hour. Henry explained he'd been ranching in Colorado, had done well for himself. He'd never had children of his own, and finding Lucinda felt like getting a second chance at family. I'm not here to disrupt your life, he assured them. I just needed to know you were all right, that those men weren't still hunting you. They're not, Thatcher said firmly. The main one's in prison, the rest scattered. She's safe here. I can see that. Henry stood to leave. I'm staying in town for a few days, at the boarding house. Would you mind if I visited again? I'd like to know my niece, and meet that son of yours when he wakes. Lucinda looked at Thatcher, who nodded slightly. We'd like that. After Henry left, Lucinda sat heavily at the table. I can't believe he found me. How do you feel about it? Thatcher asked. I don't know. Confused, relieved he's family, but I barely know him. Then take your time. Get to know him. See if he's someone you want in our lives. Our lives, she repeated. I like that you say that. Like everything's shared. It is shared. That's what marriage means. What family means. Henry visited 3 more times over the next week. He brought toys for the children and shared stories about Lucinda's mother that she'd never heard. Slowly, carefully, trust began to build. He seems like good people, Thatcher observed after Henry's 3rd visit. He does. It's strange having family again. I've been alone for so long. You're not alone anymore. You've got me, the kids, Mabel, the whole town. And now Henry too, if you want. I think I do want. It feels good having someone who knew my mother, who can tell me stories about her. On Henry's last day before heading back to Colorado, he made them an offer. I've been thinking, he said over coffee. I'm getting older. The ranch in Colorado is more than I can handle alone, and I've got no one to leave it to when I'm gone. He looked at Lucinda. What if I left it to you, to your family? Lucinda nearly dropped her cup. Uncle Henry, that's too much. It's not too much. It's family. It's right. He smiled. I'm not saying you have to move there. You've clearly built something good here. But maybe someday, if you wanted to expand, or if one of your children wanted their own place, it'd be there, waiting. That's incredibly generous, Thatcher said. It's practical. Can't take it with me when I go. Rather it stay in the family. He squeezed Lucinda's hand. Your mother was my wife's favorite person. She'd want me to take care of her daughter. After Henry left, promising to visit again in the spring, Lucinda stood on the porch watching him ride away. That was unexpected, she said. Thatcher wrapped his arms around her from behind. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Good. I think. It's just a lot to process. 6 months ago I had nothing. Now I have everything. You deserve everything. She leaned back against him. So do you. Winter settled in again, their second as a married couple. The house felt full now, full of noise and laughter and life. Callum turned 2 and declared himself a big boy, who didn't need help with anything, though he clearly still did. Grace started sitting up on her own, grabbing at everything within reach. One snowy evening, with both children finally asleep, Lucinda and Thatcher sat by the fire. I've been thinking, she said, about how far we've come, where we started, where we are now. Where we're going, he added. That too. She smiled. A year and a half ago I knocked on your door with nothing but hope and desperation. I was running from violence and fear. I didn't know if I'd survive another week. And now I'm not running. I'm not scared. I'm just living. Really living. She took his hand. You gave me that. This life. This family. This peace. We gave it to each other, he corrected. I was barely alive when you showed up. Going through motions, waiting to die. You showed me how to live again. Then we saved each other. Yeah, he agreed softly. We did. They sat in comfortable silence, the fire crackling and snow falling outside. Thatcher, Lucinda said after a while. Do you still think about them, Sarah and Emma? He was quiet for a moment. Every day, but it's different now. Before the memories were painful, like reopening a wound over and over. Now they're bittersweet. I can remember the good times without being destroyed by the loss. That's healing? It is. He looked at her. You worried I still love her? No, I know you do. And I'm okay with that. Love isn't finite. You can love her memory and love me too. I do love you. So much it scares me sometimes. Why does it scare you? Because I know how fragile life is, how quickly everything can be taken away. She squeezed his hand. That's why we hold on tight while we can. Make every day count. You're wise for someone so young. She laughed. I'm 22. That's not that young. To me it is. I've got 10 years on you. And I've got a lifetime ahead with you. That's all that matters. He pulled her close and kissed her slow and deep. When they broke apart, both were smiling. Come on, he said. Let's go to bed. Both children are asleep. We should take advantage. He grinned. That's exactly what I was thinking. Spring came again, bringing new life to the ranch. The cattle had calves. The garden bloomed. And Lucinda discovered she was pregnant again. Already. Thatcher's eyes were wide when she told him. Grace is only 9 months old. I know it's fast, but it's wonderful. He picked her up and spun her around. Another baby. God, Lucinda, we're going to have 3 children. You're not worried about the cost, the work. I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. He set her down gently. We'll manage. We always do. And they did manage. Despite the morning sickness and exhaustion, despite chasing after 2 small children, despite the demands of the ranch they managed. Henry visited in April as promised, delighted by the pregnancy news. Your family's growing. It is. Lucinda agreed, one hand on her barely there bump. Faster than I expected, but I'm happy about it. Your mother had 3 siblings. Big families run in your blood. He pulled out an envelope. I wanted to give you this. Inside was a deed to the Colorado ranch. Uncle Henry, I can't. It's already done. Property's in your name. When I die, it's fully yours with no legal complications. But until then, I'll keep running it. Just gives me peace knowing it'll be taken care of after I'm gone. Lucinda hugged him tightly. Thank you. For everything. Family takes care of family. Simple as that. The pregnancy was easier than her first 2. By the time fall arrived, Lucinda was large and uncomfortable, but healthy. Mabel checked on her weekly, pronounced everything perfect. Any day now, Mabel said during her last visit in October. You ready? As ready as I'll ever be. Labor started on a crisp autumn morning. It was faster this time, only 6 hours from first contraction to final push. When Mabel announced, it's a boy, Lucinda laughed through tears. A boy, Thatcher. We have a son. Thatcher held the tiny infant with shaking hands, tears streaming down his face. Samuel, he whispered. His name is Samuel. Samuel Henry Reeve, Lucinda added, honoring both her uncle and the life they'd built. Callum and Grace met their brother that evening, both fascinated by the tiny human who'd joined their family. He's so small, Grace said, patting his head gently. You were that small once, Lucinda told her. I protect him, Callum announced, echoing what he'd said about Grace. I protect everyone. Yes, you will, Thatcher said, ruffling his hair. You're the big brother. Important job. That night, with all 3 children sleeping, Thatcher and Lucinda lay in bed exhausted but content. 3 children, Lucinda said wonderingly. We have 3 children. We do. Our house is officially full. Is it too full? Never. He kissed her forehead. Every one of them is a blessing. Every one of them is proof that life goes on, that love multiplies, that we're stronger together than we ever were apart. The years that followed were full of joy and challenges. Callum grew into a serious protective boy who looked after his siblings with fierce dedication. Grace was wild and fearless, constantly climbing things and exploring places she shouldn't. Samuel was quiet and observant, watching everything with those steady gray eyes he'd inherited from Thatcher. The ranch prospered. They added more land, more cattle, built a new barn and expanded the house, hired more hands, became one of the most successful operations in the county. But success didn't change them. They remained humble, generous, always willing to help neighbors in need. Their door was always open. Their table always had room for one more. Uncle Henry passed away peacefully in his sleep when Samuel was 3. True to his word, the Colorado ranch became theirs. They kept it running with a hired manager, saving it for when the children were old enough to decide what they wanted to do with it. Callum was 5 when he first asked about his birth father. "Mama, why don't I look like Papa?" he asked one evening. Lucinda's heart clenched. She'd known this day would come, had prepared for it, but it still hurt. "Come here, sweetheart." She pulled him onto her lap. "You remember how Grace and Samuel came from my belly?" "Yes." "Well, you came from my belly too. But you had a different father, before I met Papa." Callum's brow furrowed. "Where is he?" "He died before you were born." "Oh." Callum thought about this. "Did he love me?" Lucinda chose her words carefully. "He never got the chance to meet you, but Papa loves you so much. He chose to be your father. He chose to love you and protect you and raise you as his son. So Papa's my real Papa. The most real Papa you could have." "Good." Callum hugged her tight. "I like Papa." Thatcher, who'd been listening from the doorway, came in and scooped up Callum. "And Papa likes you, more than likes. Papa loves you with his whole heart. Even though I didn't come from you, especially because you didn't. Know why?" Thatcher held him close. "Because I got to choose you. Not every father gets that. But I looked at you and thought, this boy needs a papa, and I need a son. So we chose each other." "I chose you too," Callum said seriously. "You're the best papa." Later, after the children were in bed, Lucinda found Thatcher standing outside looking at the stars. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm perfect. Just thinking about how lucky I am." "We're both lucky." "No, I'm luckier." He pulled her close. "I got to watch you grow our children. Got to see this family become real. Got to love and be loved in ways I never thought possible again." "Thatcher, let me finish." His voice was thick with emotion. "When you knocked on my door that day, I was already dead. I just hadn't stopped breathing yet. But you brought me back. You and Callum, and then Grace and Samuel. You gave me reasons to live, reasons to hope, reasons to believe that after the worst happens, good things can still come." She was crying now. "You gave me the same things. Then we're even." "No," she said. "We're blessed. There's a difference." Time continued its steady march. Callum turned 10, already tall and strong, helping with ranch work. Grace was 8, reading everything she could get her hands on and asking endless questions. Samuel was 5, quiet and thoughtful, content to sit and watch the world go by. One Sunday after church, Reverend Walsh asked them to stay behind. "I have a favor to ask," he said. "There's a young widow in town. Husband died last month. She's got 2 small children and nowhere to go. The church is trying to help, but she needs work, a place to stay." Lucinda and Thatcher looked at each other. "Sound familiar?" Thatcher said with a small smile. "Very familiar." Lucinda turned to the Reverend. "Send her to us. We'll find something for her." "Are you sure? I know you've got your hands full." "We're sure," Thatcher said firmly. "Everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves help when they need it most." The widow named Sarah, which made both Thatcher and Lucinda smile at the symmetry, arrived the next week. She was young, scared, and desperate, just like Lucinda had been. They gave her a small cabin on the property that had been built for the ranch hands. Gave her work cooking for the hired men. Gave her time and space and kindness. "Why are you helping me?" Sarah asked one afternoon while working alongside Lucinda in the garden. "Because someone helped me once, when I had nothing and nowhere to go. And that help changed my life." "Who helped you?" Lucinda smiled. "My husband. He opened his door to a desperate widow with a baby, gave us shelter, safety, eventually, love." Sarah looked toward where Thatcher was working with the men. "He seems like a good man. The best man." Lucinda pulled a weed. "Point is, we're paying forward the kindness we received. Someday when you're on your feet, maybe you'll help someone else. That's how it works." "I will," Sarah promised. "I absolutely will." Watching Sarah rebuild her life reminded Thatcher and Lucinda of their own journey, of how far they'd come, of how much they'd overcome. One evening, their 15th wedding anniversary, they left the children with Mabel and rode out to the place where they'd first met. The old ranch house had been torn down years ago, replaced with a newer, larger home, but the cottonwood tree remained. They stood beneath it, hands clasped. 15 years, Lucinda said. "Can you believe it?" "Some days, yes. Some days it feels like yesterday you knocked on my door." "Scared and desperate." "Brave and beautiful," he corrected. She laughed. "I was a mess." "You were perfect." He turned to face her. "Lucinda Reeve, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. You gave me back my life, gave me a family, gave me reasons to wake up every morning. I love you more today than I did 15 years ago, and I'll love you even more tomorrow." She wiped away tears. "I love you too. You saved me in every way a person can be saved. You showed me what real love looks like, what real partnership means, what a real family can be." They kissed beneath the cottonwood tree, just as they had on their wedding day. When they rode home, the house was ablaze with light. Through the windows they could see their children, Callum, helping Grace with something, Samuel reading in the corner, Mabel moving through the kitchen. "Look at what we built," Thatcher said. "Look at what love built," Lucinda corrected. They walked inside together, hand in hand, to the life they'd created, the family they'd fought for, the peace they'd earned. And in that moment, standing in their home, surrounded by the people they loved most, both Thatcher and Lucinda knew with absolute certainty that everything they'd endured had been worth it. The pain, the fear, the loss, the struggle, all of it had led them here, to this perfect, imperfect, beautiful life. Together. Years later, when Callum brought home his own bride, and Grace announced she'd been accepted to a teaching college, and Samuel declared he wanted to be a doctor, Thatcher and Lucinda sat on that same porch where it all began. "We did good," Thatcher said. "We did great," Lucinda corrected, taking his hand. Their hair was graying now. Their hands were worn from years of work, but their love remained as strong as ever. "Any regrets?" she asked. He thought about it seriously, then shook his head. "Not a single one. Only that I didn't knock on your door sooner." He laughed and pulled her close. "We found each other when we were supposed to. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. Exactly when we both needed saving." And as the sun set over Sage Hollow Ranch, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Thatcher Reeve and Lucinda Reeve sat together in the home they'd built and knew one truth with absolute certainty. Love doesn't erase the scars we carry. It grows around them, through them, making us stronger than we ever were before, proving that the human heart's capacity for healing is as infinite as its capacity for hope.